Neale Donald Walsch, it's an honor to have you back here for the third time, the Holy Trinity here on the Wisdom of Jacob's Ladder. Thank you for coming on.
You're very welcome. Thank you for the invitation. It's nice to be here with you again. How may I serve you?
Yeah, I've gotten so much wonderful praise and feedback from, all the times you've been on the channel that how could I say no to such a luminary and someone who's influenced the planet, as we see it as today. But I wanted to just, ask you, right now, working in the mental health field and seeing everything that's going on, there seems to be, a theme of a lot of people really hurting emotionally, fiscally. I mean, maybe there's a spiritual disconnect. And certainly, I believe your story and your experience that you've had could speak a little bit to that. I'm curious, with everything going on right now from your own personal experiences, how could, one maybe navigate these challenging times, because I know for yourself, you had quite a transformative experience, in your journey. I'm just kind of curious how people could really navigate a lot of these, potentially thick and challenging times that they're in.
Well, that's a huge question, Jacob, and not one that a person can answer with a simple one or two paragraph response.
Mhm,
Uh, but I can give you my short form answer to your
mhm,
huge question. Um, I think the way to navigate what's going on in life, whatever period of time we're in, whether we're in the 1800s or the 1700s or this particular day and time, whatever time it is for us to become clear on who and what we are.
mhm,
If I think that this is who I am, Jacob, if I think I'm my body and my mind, and that's who I am, I'm going to approach whatever's going on, whatever period of time I'm living in one particular way. But if I think, no, this is not who I am, and this is not who I am, or not my body, and I'm not my mind, these are just tools, pieces of equipment being used by who I really am.
mhm,
That who I really am is a spiritual entity, a spiritual being. I'm going to use the word soul. I'm a soul. And I think that that soul, that spiritual entity that I identify with, is an individuation of divinity. Or to put it another way, I think I'm a tiny, small, but not an insignificant part of God.
mhm,
I think I'm, like a wave on the ocean. A wave arises from the ocean, demonstrates itself, expresses itself in powerful, spectacular form. And then when that individuation is complete, the wave recedes back into the ocean whence it came.
mhm.
So I think it's an analogy that works well for me in response to your question. How do we navigate these times? By understanding who we are and by using whatever is arising in our life, collectively and individually, as an opportunity to announce and declare, to express and fulfill, to become and experience who we really are. And
Beautiful.
by doing so, to share with others who they really are as well.
Mhm, mhm. There's a Do you feel that a lot of people come to spirituality due to, memory? That maybe there's perhaps a part of themselves that they might not have listened to, and perhaps maybe challenges has led people to maybe ask some of these, existential questions, and memory of what you're talking about, that I am more than just this, is a big gift that allows people to come, back into, spirit and spirituality and of interest in all these things.
I agree with you, Jacob. I agree with your analysis and your observation. I think you're absolutely correct. I think that people do have a memory, and they remember who they really are in some distant way.
Mhm,
And when that memory comes forward, they begin to ask questions and they have their own internal conversation with God.
Mhm. And that was something certainly that changed the trajectory of your life, and many others. And for, people out there who are struggling and may be potentially angry at God or life situations, how could they pivot to a place of openness? How do they start? Because it's justifiable for a lot of people to be very, have a hard time repairing their relationship with the divine. And how did that start for you, and how could others do, the same?
Well, we make a basic decision. I think the answer to your question, Jacob, is that we're invited by life to make a basic decision.
Uh-huh.
What do I choose? What do I wish to experience? Not
Mm,
what is happening, but what do I wish to experience in response to what is happening?
uh-huh.
How do I choose to reply, in a sense, to what life is bringing me?
Mm.
And so that's the pathway.
Oh.
And or to put it in simple terms, I like to ask myself life's magic question, what I've come to call life's magic question. Whenever anything comes up in my life, welcome or unwelcome, I ask myself a simple question. What does this have to do with the agenda of my soul?
Mm,
And that question places the circumstance that I'm encountering within a context that I don't often think about unless I direct my attention to it. But when I ask myself that question, I think, good question. What does this have to do with the agenda of my soul? For instance, just as an example, for anyone who may be watching us, this very interaction you and I are now having,
mhm,
I might ask myself, you know, wait a minute, what does this have to do with the agenda of my soul?
mm,
And if the agenda of my soul is to announce and declare, to express and fulfill, to become and to experience who I really am, then I am, in fact, as we all are, an individuation of divinity. Then I use what's occurring, whatever it is, in this case, the exchange you and I are now having. I use what is occurring and put it to use toward that end. I allow every moment of my life to present me with an opportunity to fulfill the agenda of the soul.
mm,
That's the agenda of the soul, in my understanding.
uh-huh.
And when I step into fulfilling the agenda of the soul, everything falls into place.
Hmm. Yeah. It's beautiful to remember who you are, and that what you're saying is that allows you to remember who other people are too. Like, give them that gift that they're able to remember that they're a soul as well.
Yes, that's true for almost everybody. It's not true for Jacob, but it is true for. Oh, wait a minute. Wait, I'm getting a call here from God. Don't make bad jokes. Okay, so I got it. Okay, thank you. I said
Real time.
I shouldn't make bad jokes. Okay, so it's probably also true for even for Jacob.
Yes,
Yes, of
yeah.
course, it's true for all of us.
Mm,
And when we come to understand that, we realize that we're moving through the world as both a messenger and a message at the same time.
mhm. Yeah, yeah. Well, you make a I know obviously we were, all jokes aside, I hope, with the phone call and all that, but, I think what a lot of people struggle with is, those that might be very difficult, to care for and love. I think we gravitate to those, that, we might have a little bit more bandwidth, but to those who, may intentionally do harm to others or, just very damaging in our lives. Like, how do we get to a point of loving them? And should we love them? Do we? have to for our own growth. What's your perspective on those that are very challenging for an individual to
Well,
love?
you used a word in your question that I never used. You said, you know, loving them, or how do we love them, or should we?
Mhm,
First of all, let me say that the word should is not part of my vocabulary.
mhm,
It's not something that we shouldn't.
mhm,
It's something that we're invited to do.
mhm,
Or as God said to me, Neil, don't should on yourself.
mhm,
So I try never to think that there are things that I should be doing
mhm,
or ways that I should be being. But I do see life as an invitation, an opportunity to announce and declare,
mhm,
to express and fulfill who I understand myself to be in the next highest version of that. So, should we love people who are acting in ways that are not welcome and that could even be injurious to others? I don't think that we should, but I think that we have an opportunity to. And that when we accept that invitation, then we move toward fulfillment of our own soul's agenda. And we might even, who knows, offer some positive energy toward another person that allows them to change some of their behaviors, some of those unwelcome energies that they're sending into the world.
mhm,
So I think that, each of us have an opportunity to do that, even for those people with whom we disagree. Our opportunity is to find a way to disagree agreeably
mhm, mhm,
and to, yes, to love a person, even when, perhaps especially when, they're acting in unloving ways.
mhm,
Every spiritual master, and I'm not one of those, I don't claim to be, but I know that there have been wonderful spiritual masters walking our planet, both male and female, throughout the centuries. And every spiritual master has chosen to demonstrate and to express love, especially when the person with whom they're interacting is not expressing love.
mhm, mhm,
It's what I call the God solution. And I have produced a book called The God Solution, which, by the way, I'm happy to send to anybody a digital copy. If a person would like to read that book in digital form, I'll email them a digital copy of the book of God's Solution at no cost. Just ask for it and I'll put it in your mailbox.
mhm.
Just send me an email to Neale at neildonaldwalsh.com and say, Jacob said I should demand you to send me that. And I will send you the book because I want people to read. I truly, all joking aside, I want people to read what I was given to share
Mhm,
about the God solution.
mhm,
This is called the God solution.
mm,
How to change the moment when people are acting unloving.
mhm, mm. Wow, wow. Is there, like, a particular I don't know, is there, like, a particular practice that one can do to shift, their energy, that you would
No,
recommend? Or,
no, there
is a
isn't.
mindset?
The answer is no. In my experience, Jacob, there's no one size fits all
I
answer
see.
to your question.
Mhm,
There's no particular technique or process that works every single time in every single moment when we're you know encountering the kind of experience that you and I are discussing. But but there is a single energy, and how to express it will be made known to us in that moment. The
mhm,
energy, of course, is pure love.
mm, mm,
Now, when I say pure love, I'm not talking about just love. When I talk this way in front of a large audience, Jacob, inevitably somebody gets up in the back of the room, they raise their hand, and I call on them and they say, Mr. Walsh, and we've been listening to you all this while for you to tell us that the solution is to love people. I mean, the solution is, everyone knows the solution is love. And I have to say to my friend in the back of the room, wait a minute. I didn't say the solution is love. I said the solution is pure love,
mm,
pure love.
mm,
And my friend in the back of the room will say, okay, what's the difference?
mm,
So, well, the difference is that pure love needs, expects, requires, and demands nothing in return.
mm. Wow.
Most of us can't even love the person on the pillow next to us that way.
Mm,
Much less can we imagine a God who loves us that way.
mm,
But when we acquire the ability to love a person, and start with the person on the pillow next to you,
mhm.
say to that person, I need, expect, require, and of course demand nothing from you.
Wow.
I don't love you because of what you can give me. I don't love you because of what I can get from you. If I did that, I'm just loving myself, using you as a vehicle with which to love myself. But
Mhm,
I don't love you because of what I can get from you. I love you simply because of who I see over there.
mhm,
I see you,
mm,
and I totally love what I'm seeing, whether I get any of it or not.
mm,
Love is not a transaction. It's not a trade deal, like trade deals between nations. I'll give you what I've got, you give me what you've got. Love is not a transaction. Love is simply an expression
mhm,
that asks for nothing in return.
mm.
You know what, Jacob?
Wow.
Most people can't even love a God
Mhm,
in that way. I mean, we can't imagine a God who loves us that way.
mm,
We think that God loves us as a transaction. You belong to the right religion. You say the right prayers. You do the right things. You obey my commandments. You do what I'm telling you to do. You don't disobey me, and I'll give you what you want in return. But if you don't give me what I demand and what I want in return, you're in big trouble. This is how many, many people, I mean, not a few people, this is how billions of people imagine God to be interacting with us. We
mhm,
can't even imagine a God who says, wait a minute, guys, you've got me all wrong.
mhm,
I need and demand and require nothing of you. I love you.
mm, mm,
So my love for you, says God to me, Neale, is not a transaction.
mhm,
You couldn't stop me from loving you no matter what you did, nor could you cause me to punish you in some way, to say nothing about everlasting punishment. You know, we believe in it. I mean, I shouldn't say we believe, but many people believe. Billions of people believe in a God who takes what we do for one lifetime out of, by the way, out of eternity, one lifetime is like a millisecond compared to 1,000 years.
mhm.
How long is one lifetime compared to eternity?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but we believe in a God who takes what we did wrong in one lifetime and punishes us for eternity
Mm, mm,
if we didn't behave in the way that God demands that we behave. And that's the kind of God we believe in,
mhm.
which is why I wrote a book called God's Message to the World, subtitle, You've Got Me All Wrong.
Beautiful. And, I know that was a response, I believe, on the Today Show that you had years ago when you were asked, what like, quickly, how do you define what's the message that God wants to share to others? And I believe your response was just that, like, "You've got me all wrong," and no one saw that coming, but that was, just really what people need to hear, and it's very
Yeah,
powerful.
Matt Lauer asked me that question, and he said, actually, what he said to me was, Neale, uh, we've only got 30 seconds left. We were
Yeah.
doing a little interview, you know. He said, "We have only 30 seconds left.
Yeah.
But could you answer me, what is God's most important message to the world if you claim that God is talking to you?" And I thought to myself, "You stink. You know you've got 30 seconds left, and you asked me the biggest question of all
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's God's most important message to the world?" And
Talk
I was
about
sitting there
marketing. Yeah.
yeah, I was sitting there in this studio thinking, and I thought, and then God gave me the message. And it was the 5 words.
Wow.
I said to Matt, God's most important message to the world in 5 words?
Mhm.
You've got me all wrong.
Mm,
Now, if that's inaccurate, the conversation is over. But
mhm.
if that's accurate, Matt, our conversation has just begun.
Right. Hmm. What a powerful download in the moment, man.
It was
Wow.
amazing. I was so grateful for it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wow. Yeah. It's I think you mentioned this a lot where it's so pivotal, the information that we have and how we live our lives and how we navigate this world. And like you said, there's so many people who walk around with information about God that, is most likely not representative of it. At the very least, it leads to a lot of maladaptive behaviors, as we've seen, regurgitated throughout centuries. And
To put it mildly.
yeah, and it's just so pivotal, that dynamic of information and how one really navigates, their lives. So that's so true. Like there's a concept. I mean, I know you speak about this a lot, which is change. I think you wrote a book, When Everything Changes, Change Everything, if I'm not something along those lines.
That was the exact title. When everything changes, change everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Change your idea about change itself, and change your idea about who you are in response to the change, and change your idea of the change you want to see. Or as Gandhi put it very simply, Mr. Gandhi put it very simply, be the change you want to see in the world.
Be the change that you want. I love it. I love it. From a lot of people, their change could be difficult, scary, vulnerable. It can mean that you're tied into a lot of things and all of a sudden you have to totally shift, dynamics and how people perceive you. How do people really navigate maybe some of these potential room for changes, when it comes to their viewpoints on God or the divine? You know, how could that start? And how could one navigate change in more effective ways than it would be seen? Because things have been quite stagnant on a macro level, it seems.
Well, again, there's no one size fits all answer to your question.
Right.
Everybody navigates it in their own individual
There's
way.
nuance and subjectivity, sure. Yeah.
But I think the first thing we do, or the first thing that we are invited to do by life itself, is to understand why a particular event is occurring.
Mhm,
And what I've come to understand is nothing is happening by accident.
mhm,
Every event that presents itself in our life is occurring, again, as I said a minute ago, as an opportunity, an invitation for us to announce and declare, express and fulfill, demonstrate and experience who we really are. Every spiritual master, and let me repeat, I don't claim to be that, I'm not that. I'm not saying that I am, but there have been spiritual masters who have walked the planet, and every spiritual master has seen life in that way,
mhm,
no matter what is coming at them.
mhm,
They see it as an opportunity to announce and declare, to express and fulfill, to become and to demonstrate who they really are. That's the story of Siddhartha Gautama's entire life,
mhm,
which is why they came to call him the Buddha. That's the whole story of the life of Jesus. It's the whole story of the life of Muhammad.
mhm,
Let's just bless his holy name. It's the whole story of the life of Catherine of Genoa, or Mother Teresa, or Teresa of Avila, or Julian of Norwich, or any one of the wonderful human beings who've come to this planet and demonstrated for us what it's like to understand and to step into the experience of who we really are.
mhm,
God bless those spiritual masters
mhm,
who've come forward and said, try it this way,
mm,
try it this way.
uh-huh,
So, I've listened to what they've had to say, and I can't say that I managed to, obviously, I don't manage to match their demonstrations in every single moment. But once in a while I do.
mm, mm,
Once in a while we all do. All of us have had moments when we've been bigger than ourselves, so to speak,
mm,
when we've been more wise, more generous, more compassionate, more understanding, more forgiving, more sensitive, more aware. All of us have had moments like that in our life. So we've experienced ourselves in that way. I want to tell you a little story about that. I was in the supermarket once a few years ago, and I went there, I thought I went there to get, some groceries, bread, butter, eggs, and milk, fill up the larder. But that's not why I went there at all. Because as I was moving through the produce department, I saw a lady who had some tears going down her face.
mm,
And I walked over to her and I said, I'm sorry, ma'am, I don't mean to interfere or interrupt your moment. Please forgive me if I'm being inappropriate, but I couldn't help but see that you had some tears falling down your face. Are you okay? Is there anything I can do for you? And she looked at me. She said, you can't even believe what's gone on in my life the past 2 weeks.
mm,
I said, would you be willing to share with me? She said, my husband lost his job. My father passed away 2 weeks ago. My child fell down the stairs and broke his ankle. We're totally out of money. We're totally out of it. I don't know what more could go wrong. And I have to get food stamps just to buy groceries here at the grocery store. She said, I'm sorry, but I didn't mean to lay all this on you, but you asked me. I'm telling you the truth.
mhm,
And I looked at her and I shared some ideas with her. We had a long, peaceful conversation after that. We really talked together. We were in the produce department for at least 15 or 20 minutes talking to each other. And I was sharing with her, frankly, some of what I was given to share in my conversations with God experience. But I'm not bragging. I know this sounds like I'm boasting now, Jacob, but I'm not really trying to brag. I'm just telling you what happens in people's lives and how events occur for a purpose and for a reason, as the French would say. There's a raison d'etre,
mm,
a reason for being.
mhm,
And so I was, I allowed myself in that particular instance to be there for her in that particular way. She looked at me at the end of our conversation. She said, what are you, some kind of minister? And I looked at her and I said, actually, yes, that's what I am. That's what we all are.
mm,
Some kind of minister.
mm,
I remember walking out of that store. I was walking to my car and I said to myself, psst,
mhm,
swag at the store. It had nothing to do with getting bread, butter, eggs, and milk. That's why I came here. And
mm,
then a man came around the corner from the store. He had a sign. He had a little badge that said manager. He was the store manager. And I thought, oh, he's probably going to give me a little ration. I shouldn't be interfering with people,
mhm,
having such conversations. But he didn't. He said, sir, did you want your groceries? You left them on the counter. You paid for them and you left them on the counter.
mhm,
Did you? It's almost like you forgot why you're here. And I said, you know what I did? He said, here are your bag of groceries.
Mhm.
I thought he was coming to give me a few words, a piece of his mind, for involving myself with this lady in the
Alright.
produce department. But no, he gave me to give me the groceries that
Mhm.
I left on the counter because I forgot. I was so into my heart space.
Mm.
Have you ever been into your heart space so fully, so completely that you forgot even what you were doing and why you were there? And we've all had moments like that. Question is, can we bring ourselves more moments like that? Can we see every opportunity as a chance to demonstrate not only who we are, but to that other person to demonstrate who they are? Because that's what I shared with that lady
Yeah.
in the produce department.
Mm.
I told her, I see you. I see your courage. I see your strength. I see your willingness. I see your profound ability to navigate life.
Mhm.
I see who you are. God bless you
Mm.
for touching people's lives in the way that you are. And, it's very seldom people hear anyone else tell them that.
Mm.
So, when you see someone and you see who they really are, tell them.
Beautiful. Mm. It's very moving to hear that particular story in those words, and it almost encapsulates, the trajectory of our journeys, where we come to this world that some could see as mundane or routine or just physical, but we're able to have these purely divine moments, and these moments like you just shared as being a brother and sister's keeper, and to be of service and to remind this person of who she is. And so many times people could feel disenfranchised from life or kicked out or homeless, if you will. And to
I've been
remind,
homeless, of
and
course.
and you have, yeah. And I think what you did was such a great gift to remind this person that she mattered. Because when people ask someone how they're doing, most people don't want to hear that, or some people just don't feel they want to listen to them. And you actually gave this woman a home and a space, and it was the most, that encapsulates the most divine act I think that we could do, which is acts of service to others and being our brothers and sisters keeper. It's just moving and touching. Mm.
Well, thank you for saying that, and I hope it doesn't sound like I was boasting, but I simply wanted to 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 offer an example of how all of us have opportunities,
Mhm.
to demonstrate,
Mhm.
to give. You know what conversations God said to me, Neil, give people back to themselves. We all have an opportunity to give people back to themselves, and if we're awake and clear what we're doing here, we can find 2 or 3 opportunities to do that virtually every day of our life.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you another small example, just as small example. I'm at the post office about 2 or 3 years ago, mailing a package, and, there are 4 or 5 clerks at the front desk, at the front counter in the post office, and it was my turn, my turn I was in a line, of course, and there was a line of 6 or 8 people, but when my turn came, I got to go to this one man behind the counter, and I said to him, "Oh, I'm really glad I came up that you came up to be the person that could help me." And he said, "Really? Why?" And I said, "Because I've worked with you before. You're always so incredibly helpful. You're totally knowledgeable. You understand the challenges that are faced by ordinary people who aren't really clear about all the postal regulations and how much we have to pay for the postage and so forth and so on. And you're just so good at what you do. And not only that, but you make a person feel good. You make a person feel good about coming to the post office and just being here." The guy looked up at me and he said, "You know what? I've been working here for 16 years and no one has ever said anything like that to me. You've just made my day.
Mhm.
He says, actually, you just kind of made my career.
Hmm.
Yeah, again, I'm not bragging. I'm just trying to tell as an example. We have opportunities every day of our life to give people back to themselves, to allow them to sing. Is it possible? Is it just possible
Mhm.
that the highest thought I have about me might sometimes be true,
Mhm.
maybe more often than I know? So when you have an opportunity to share with another person in that way, don't miss the chance.
Don't hold
That's
back. Yeah.
don't hold back. Bingo.
Yeah.
Don't hold back.
Yeah.
And sometimes it means you have to step outside of yourself and say something to a total stranger that you might not ordinarily find yourself saying,
Mhm.
but you can change a person's life
Mhm. Mhm.
by doing so.
Yeah.
Just a thought, just a thought. I could be wrong about all of this.
Yeah. And I think that's what a lot of people miss where they say, "Hey, I'm only impacting the world if I have X amount of followers or if I'm on, some circuit of some speaking tour." And all those things are great, but I think from what you're illustrating, it's really these micro dynamics, one-on-one type things and how we live our lives. These are the most impactful changes. As I say, think globally by acting locally and, focusing on, the dynamics that we have in front of us. And that seemed to be a transcendent experience for this person and for you as well. It's just
It's-
beautiful illustration. Mm. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
And I love what you said, and for you as well, because that's the important thing for people to understand. We're not only doing it for the other person, we're doing it for ourselves.
yeah, yeah.
All service to others is self service.
Mm,
That's what God said to me in my conversations. Neil, all service to others is self service because you're serving up a portion of your grandest self to yourself, allowing yourself to experience
mhm,
the wonder and the joy, the glory of who
mm.
you really are.
Beautiful. I gotta sit with that for just a moment because that's quite moving. Wow, wow. Mm. As you live your life and since your conversation, with God, um, day to day, does your understanding of God deepen as you're, living life as Neale Donald Walsch, or since that dictation, that conversation, it's kind of remained similar? Because I get asked this all the time where people ask me, how do you define God? And I have a hard time because they're talking about something that's infinite and it's very hard to find the finite language. And I don't know about you, but I say each and every day is an opportunity to have a greater degree of understanding. Is that something that you ascribe by, or do you feel like you have arrived and you really are firm in your understanding of
Well, I'm
God?
not going to say that I've arrived. No. I'm not a walking, as I said now 3 times in this program, I'm not a walking spiritual master. So, no, I haven't arrived. I haven't even come close to arriving.
Mm,
So, but does my understanding of God increase? No. My experience of what I understand.
mhm, mhm,
But my understanding of God is exactly what I was given to understand in the 3,000 pages of the 9 book conversation with God dialogue.
mhm,
So I've not really increased my understanding, but I have increased daily my experience of what I understand.
mhm,
It's kind of like being in love with someone. You know, I, I, I haven't increased my love for my wife. I don't increase my love for my wife. I love her as much today, and I loved her as much 5 years ago as I love her today. But I've experienced my love for her
mhm,
in even grander and grander ways.
mhm, yeah,
So, wow, that's my answer to your question.
mhm, yeah. That's a big, difference for a lot of people not mistake, but they sometimes confuse understanding versus embodiment or the experience. And you would say, not should, but, people can choose to intellectualize God, or they could choose to experience and embody God. Is that and that
Or they
leads
could
to
do
an
both, or
understanding.
they could do
That
both.
embodiment leads to understanding, yeah.
But they could do both. It's not
Yeah.
one or the other. You don't have to give up intellectualizing God in order to experience God. God says, "No, Neil, you can do both. Intellectualize God and experience God." It's not either or, it's
Mhm,
both and.
mhm. 2 things could be true at the same time and coexist, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like that, yeah. My one of my last questions is, with everything changing, as you said, everything is constantly changing in this reality. When if everything is changing, what is real to you?
Happening right now.
Mm,
What is real to me is what's happening right now,
mhm,
not what happened 20 minutes ago or 20 days ago or 20 years ago.
mhm,
That's just my story.
mhm,
And I've often said to people when we do our spiritual renewal retreats, which we do online now, every month we do one, and people bring forward their life experience. And I often say to them, not in a mean way, not in a cruel way, but just an inquisitive way, inviting them to explore the question, where would you be without your story?
mm,
I hear you telling me what happened to you 20 years ago,
mhm,
or 20 months ago, or 20 days ago, or 20 minutes ago, or 20 seconds ago.
mhm,
All that's real is what's happening right now.
mm, mm. I love it. Like, in this moment and how we're defining, this moment. That's our story. So, I mean, I know there's a quote, I believe, by Elie Wiesel that said, "God created us because God loves stories." So you would say that story is something that we're writing right now, and to move on from 20 to 30 years ago, if we can just focus on what we're really processing and writing in this moment. Is that kind of correct?
Yeah, we're like writing a screenplay.
Mhm,
We're like living the screenplay that we're writing, or if I could put it another way, because I've had a rich background. You may not know, Jacob, but I've had a rich background in the theater.
mhm,
I mean, on stage. First in community theater for years, and then professionally
mhm.
in professional dinner
Wow,
theaters and so
wow.
forth. The reason I bring it up is because I've had the experience of being on stage and making stuff up. It's I've had the experience of when you're given the opportunity to perform spontaneously.
Mhm. Oh, I see
And
that loud and clear in our interactions. Your improv skills are through the roof. I mean, really. Yeah,
so yeah, so improvisation,
yeah.
and so once you've had that experience, uh, once you've been on stage with somebody and they've lost their lines and they didn't give you the cue that you need to go on,
Mhm.
you have to start you have to start making stuff up to get through the scene,
Right, right, right.
And so I've had that experience, and I've also been on live talk radio for years. I did live talk radio for several years, and so once you've had those opportunities to call upon yourself in ways that the average person would probably not face, with an audience of several thousand people
Mhm,
on talk radio.
mhm,
Uh, so you begin to learn, oh, what's happening right now
mhm,
and how you're responding and replying and reacting to
mhm.
right now is what's really going to create your experience of who you really are. And oh, by the way, I want to also change the word react The word react is an interesting word,
Mhm,
R-E-A-C-T, react.
mhm.
But it's the same word as create, only the C and the R have gotten mixed up. C-R-E-A-T is the same word with the C and the R changing places. So when you put the C in the right place, you see who you really are.
I love it. Wow.
So don't. So what I say to people is, when events occur in your life, seek not to react, seek to create.
To create. Mm,
That's why I produced a nonprofit foundation. It's called Recreation.
recreation. Wow. Mm,
It's the nonprofit foundation that supports the work of conversations with God around the world.
wow. It's very moving. I mean, I'm sure you're familiar with a gentleman named Viktor Frankl who wrote a book, Man's Search for Meaning. And he
Of
was,
course,
in the concentration camp and stuff like that. And he was able to find freedom in every possible you know, aspect of humanity was gripped out of his hands in those camps, and he found it through that space as you're describing between that stimuli and the response, and how he chose to create an experience, each moment, and that was a freedom that no one could take from him, in the utmost oppressive moments of modern day civilization as we know it. So that's profound, and that's if he could find it in those camps, I think we could in our own lives. The path is there. You know,
there's no question about it.
yeah. Hmm. Any final messages that you're getting, or downloads, or aspects about humanity and what we're facing, or I know obviously you mentioned solutions, stuff like that, but like in this current juncture, is there a particular message that you feel is significant? I'm not gonna say most significant or should, but something that's been coming to you a lot, recently, from your connection to the divine, or God, or things that you're noticing.
The message that I would offer is the message I was sent in my dialogue with God.
Mhm.
Neil, your life has nothing to do with you. Neil, your life is not about you. It's about everyone whose life you touch and the way in which you touch it.
Mm, mm.
But when you experience life in that way, you discover, ironically, that in the universal sense, your life is about you because of the way you're touching other people. And the reason that in the universal sense your life is about you is elegant. It's an elegant reason. Your life is about you in the universal sense because there's only one of us in the room.
Wow. Mm, mm.
There's nobody else here except you and other versions of you. Neil, we are all one. Now, when I see Jacob as I see Neil, and when I treat Jacob as I would like Neil to be treated, everything changes my interactions with the world at large. I could be wrong about all of that. All I can do is share my experience.
I think we're both sure as heaven about this one. Yeah. Yeah. Well, Neil, thank you for all these profound, illustrations, lessons, and I think it's so important for viewers to really, lean into this powerful ancient wisdom that you're continuing to give out to others. Now, I know you mentioned that there's opportunities for people to be a part of your community, and or download the book. I think you just shout out Jacob and you get a million copies at your home. Is that right? Or but what's the best way for people to be a part of your community, and or to get in touch with your work?
All they have to do is go to CWGconnect.com. CWG, of course, stands for Conversations with God. So we've shortened it down. The website is easy to find, CWGconnect.com,
Yeah.
to stay connected with the message and the energy.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a lot of e-retreats and, your Facebook page always inspires my day, so encourage people to also you'll give you a follow and, interact, engage with your social media community as well. Neil, a luminary in my eyes and someone who's impacted the world. I know you're a very humble man, and, this world is such a better place with your very presence and your heart-centeredness, your kindness and your empathy, and we are so much better because you're here.
You're very kind to say those things. That's very sweet of you, and your check is in the mail.
Okay. Neil, thank you so much. You're invited whenever you've got the time. It's always a pleasure to have you here on the Wisdom of
Thank you.
Jacob's Ladder.
Thank you for the opportunity to share this moment with you.